Book publishing changed my life forever. I am celebrating my 15-year anniversary, and book publishing changed my life forever. So I am definitely an advocate for authorship. I am the midwife to over 1,000 authors worldwide. So every weekday in the month of March, I'm going to share my story with you of how book publishing changed my life forever. So, long story short, I've always loved to write. I never knew that I was going to get into book publishing per se, but it found me. So many years ago, I was an advocate for arts in worship in the church setting. So I have done anything from writing plays, right, to productions, to dance, and I held my first conference in 2023. And then from that, like, this whole new world was birthed. So the first thing that I would tell you to do as you are thinking about publishing, or if you've published already, is you need an audience. And I think that this is the thing that so many people miss along the way. Okay, so there's no audience. So I always say build an audience for your book in advance, right? So that you actually know that there is a demand on what it is that you are talking about. I always say if people keep asking you for it, it's probably a book. And if people keep, I'm trying to see your notes. And if people keep asking for it, it is probably a business. So the first thing that you want to do is address the audience that you actually have. Okay, so you need to build an audience. So I started hosting in-person conferences. So my first one was 2003. How many years ago was that? Okay, so I was teaching and I was training and I'm building this audience. I'm collecting addresses. I'm collecting email addresses. So that is key. So in 2004, which was 21 years ago, in 2004, I filed my first business license. So that's how I started my journey into becoming an entrepreneur, later author, speaker, trainer. But I went and I had a business. I see ya. Hey, Najia. Hey, Miriam. So I formed my first business. So my first business was Rain, Rain, Rain. Now, if y'all been rocking with me for a minute, RAINREINREIGN, baby, that was my first business. So it was a teaching and training business, and I hosted an annual conference and I did workshops, right? So when I started doing this conference, then all of a sudden lots of churches started calling me to do workshops all over the place, and it just exploded from there. I was also the leader of my dance ministry at my church at that time, and as well as that had an independent dance ministry at that time. So this is the thing that you have to remember with your audience is you need their information. So now we have social media. Back then, I think we had Welcome to MySpace. So we did not have the social media platforms we have today. So there are so many ways to get connected, but emails, even back then, emails were key. We did snail mails when I first started out. We mailed like hard letters to churches and organizations and made sure we got their email address. So collect data. So if you are a speaker right now, or if you're a leader or a teacher right now, make sure that you are gathering data. Hey, author, sunshine. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. That's all my little publishing people are on here, okay? So make sure that you're getting their data and give them some value for it. So I collected email addresses. Now, I'm just giving you how I kind of came to this first book. So back then, oh my gosh, MySpace kind of helped us with coding a little bit. And I always say the best class that I took at the University of Southern California when I attended, even though I'm an English graduate, right, was Introduction to Computers. So I learned a little bit of coding and things like that. So my MySpace page was not bad at all. So then I was looking out for somebody to build a website for Rain, Rain, Rain. And like the prices were either outrageous or people weren't dependable. So guess what sister learned how to do? I learned how to build websites. And all of this is key because these are the skills that pay the bills. And I talk about that. So I was able to build this website. Now, was it the best website in the world? Probably not. But it is where my ministry page lived. It's where my business page lived. And it is what became Company Keeper. So I bought this domain and I learned how to build my first website. So on this website as community, so first of all, you're going to need an audience, right? Then I founded a business. You might not be at that step yet. It's not required to publish. You collect data, then your skills. What type of skills are you building, or what type of relationships are you building with people with skills? So then with my community. So remember, I was local. I was hosting local conferences. I started traveling a little bit and teaching. But what really put me on the map was this online newsletter, like old school. So I published this newsletter called Company Keepers Dance Ministry Monthly. So once a month, I would write articles. I would invite my ministry friends to write articles. And so what happened was we started collecting all these leads. Now we call them leads, but those email addresses. So I had lists and people would send me lists. We were not abiding by spam laws at that time, baby, because it was a long time ago. Okay. So it was the early 2000s. Oh my goodness. So we were sending, and we had lists, and even in special editions, we had one called Ministry where we had all male writers. So this is what happened. I was so caught up in the presentation of that newsletter that I stopped writing. You found me from the newsletter? Oh my gosh, that was so long ago. But this is the thing, that when you get all of these skills, I'm telling you this for a reason, right? Sometimes you will start to hide behind things that are not as prominent. So it had been a while since I had written an article. And so, me and the Lord got a relationship. So he spoke to me and said, you have to come out from behind editing, and I want you to write. So I transitioned from the newsletter to becoming a blogger. And literally, I wrote on Blogspot, the blogger platform, as Blogspot, when we had Blogspot. So listen to me, 365 days without fail, I blogged. And the reason why I blogged was because it held me accountable. So I am telling you that you need accountability as an author. Whether it's your first book or whether it's your 20th book like I'm working on, you have to have a system of accountability, right? You have to have something that happens regularly. So I wrote 3 to 4 paragraphs per day on this blog. So I had people who followed the blog, people who read the blog. If I missed a day, everybody would know, because I'm the type of person who'd be like, it's all right, girl, if you missed a day, it's okay. I know you didn't eat good today, it's okay. No, the consistency paid off. I did not know how that was going to change my life. The first 2 weeks after I started blogging, all kinds of crazy doors opened for me. I was getting invitations to teach and train even wider on a national scale. And so then I discovered it was a book. So when I first started blogging, I didn't know it was a book, you all. I was just blogging, right? So I had also been a columnist for like the Answer newspaper in Las Vegas. So I was writing, but I did not know what this thing was going to become. So I started to repurpose. So here's another bullet point that I want you to think about is repurpose. You have content. Some of you have years worth of content. Dare I say decades worth of content that you've been sitting on, and you have all of this stuff that you probably didn't think was a book. So I repurposed the blog. So I copied from the blog and pasted into Word. Microsoft Word is a tool that I recommend for authors. Why? Because not only does it format well, but now it takes dictation very well. It didn't then. I had to bang it out on the keys, okay? So I was banging it out on the keyboard. So I copied and I pasted. I edited that. Oh my gosh, I formatted it, and I decided to do a little bit different. So this is my second book I'll talk about tomorrow. But most books you see are in vertical, like portrait like format, right? I decided as an artist that I was going to do something different. Now, this is not the first version of it. This is the revised edition. But I decided to do the book in landscape. Ta-da! And do you see how, listen, 365 days is pretty thick. I had not seen someone do it this way. So sometimes when you're creative, you can take creative risks. Stretch yourself a little bit. Okay, yes, I'm punning it. Stretch yourself a little bit. You don't have to do what everybody else has done. But here's my advice with that. At least know the standard before you try to change the game. So I studied my tail off. So I repurposed, right? And I put this in a Word document, and it became Company Keepers Dance Ministry Daily. So this book, like, changed my life forever, and I had no idea that it was going to do that. So in the middle of working on this book in my obedience, that's a big old book, baby, it weighs a pound. I learned some lessons, I'm gonna tell you about it, okay? So at the time that I was writing, this was 2009, do you know that I was able to leave corporate America? I founded Rain Dance Company at that time. I launched it. I went to the radio station. I paid for an ad on a mainstream radio station to run this ad about my dance company. And man, we had open house, 11 people joined. 2 weeks later, we had our first thing. Like, things were moving so quickly with me. And what I'm telling you is, when you move in time, acceleration happens for you. But sometimes we don't move in time. We'll hear something and we'll wait. Now, I'm not telling you that everything is supposed to be immediate. But what I'm saying is, when there are time-sensitive issues in your life that are going to unlock things like a domino effect, you need to move in time. And I know that that's encouraging to somebody right now. So make sure that you're moving in time, okay? So I launched Rain Dance Company. And at the same time, the same year, I was able to leave corporate America. I was working at the Venetian and the Palazzo as HR. I was doing benefits in Las Vegas, and it just, y'all know that was not for me. Okay, so I opened my dance company and I launched a store with a partner called Blessed Fashions. I was selling praise dance garments, praise dance t-shirts. Does anybody have an OG praise dance shirt? Like, I just want to know, okay? It said praise dance. They were like black shirts, and then I did a couple of color different shirts, and I had like a store in Vegas that you could actually go into, and I had some clients that would go there. But I was finding out that that wasn't my thing either, because it was keeping me bound, and I was going out and I was speaking and teaching, and I pretty much made enough money to cover like the rent for the store, so I decided to let that go. But lots of speaking engagements and things really started happening. So this is the thing that I think set me apart. Okay, number one, I did not want a bootleg book. So before I actually produced this book, I researched publishing. Can I say it again? This is the thing that changed my life. I researched publishing. I read books probably about this thick on the publishing business, what was required. I picked up magazines on publishing, you guys. I studied. So what I see a lot of people do is no bootleggery, even back then. And what I see people do is they mimic instead of study. It's like copying off of someone else's paper. Okay? So I studied the art. How do I lay out my book? How is it supposed to be? How is the copyright page supposed to be? And so nobody told me. I studied that thing down. So this is what happened. When I finally printed Company Keepers, the first edition, it was different, and I put a little picture on Facebook to show the original version of it, okay? When I did it, I have a degree in English with a creative writing focus from USC, so I trained. So I thought that people were going to say, oh, you're such a great writer. But that's not the response I got. The response I got was, oh my gosh, this is excellent. Who is your publisher? I was like, oh wow, the publisher's me. So I had Renaissance Publications. So with Renaissance Publications, I hired someone and paid them, yes I did, to do a logo for my publishing company. Why? Because I studied the publishing industry. So I made sure that the logo was right. I paid someone to do my cover. I made sure everything lined up, and because of the excellence that was present, and I think recently I taught people about excellence will pay you, okay? Because excellence was present, people demanded that I teach them, and it changed my life. This book led to years worth of being independent as a full-time business owner. So what happened was, I did my first workshop. It was called Get Right Church, which eventually became this book. I'll talk about that and the revision of that. Okay, so I did a workshop in Las Vegas called Get Right Church, and I put a little worksheet together and made sure that they had a handbook, and I held it at a hotel, not like Hilton Garden Inn, okay, on Las Vegas Boulevard. People attended, we had lunch, I had my books, man. I had no idea how much that was going to change things. So that was the end of 2010. So I published Company Keepers in 2010. It took off. So in 2011, I hosted this conference called Worship Incorporated. And out of that, I had this conversation with my business mentor that changed my life. And so from then, I decided to do 7-week e-learning. This was an e-course. Now, we did not have learning platforms the way that we do now. So it was email correspondence. And because I have a mailing list, y'all, I was able to let people know, in a website, I was able to market and advertise what I was offering. So people, I charge like $99 a person. And for 7 weeks, I would send them their first assignment via email, give them a due date. They would send me their work back, and then I would send assignment number 2, and I made money doing that. So I had a course for publishing. I had a course for running a dance company, yes, and I had a course for running a business. And so I had 3 income streams plus my book going on for me at the same time that people were paying me to teach. And it just grew and grew and grew and grew. Okay, so I learned some things with this first book though. Number one, because this book was 371 pages, that's why I always tell people, like, baby, I'm an overachiever. So you don't have to do this unless you're doing a novel. This is nonfiction, and usually nonfiction books are not this thick, okay? But, double majored in school. Yes, I have an English degree as well as an African American Studies degree, both of them. I graduated from both of them. Okay, so my overachieving self decides to put out this big old book. It was a pound. Do you know what that means in shipping, y'all? And this is when I had to go buy envelopes, bubble mailers. And when I first launched this book, I said, hey, if you buy this book, I'll give you a gift. And I had like little stuff from my store and my retail. So I stuck it in there. So the book cost me $10 a copy then. I think I was 48-hour books or something. The book cost me $10 a copy to produce. Okay. Then I put it in an envelope, and that was another $7, $8. So the price point of the book was $20. So pretty much I was paying people to read my book. So I learned a little bit better. Okay, now with Amazon, it is cheaper for me to produce this book. And this is the revised. This is 2024 edition, y'all. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so people kept asking me to teach. I developed that. And then in 2013, I was recruited to teach for an institute for an 11-month course. So I went from a $99 e-correspondence to, my first time I taught it, I think it was $500. The second time I taught it, it might have been $700. The third time I taught it, it was $850, and 120 people registered that year. Do the math. So I was able to turn my first book, it ended up compounding into a 6-figure enterprise and a business for me just for that one stream of teaching. That did not include all of the other speaking engagements and other entrepreneurial endeavors that I had, but for that one I was doing very well with it. And in 2017 I launched Get Right University. So you have seen me, those of you who have seen me over the years, just kind of, like when you're multifaceted and when you're multi-talented, sometimes it's tough because you don't know which way to go. So I discovered my core talent is teaching and training, and that's why I did Company Keepers Dance Ministry Daily. So at that time, there was a shift. So I did this book, and we had like Create Space. Do y'all remember Create Space? Gosh, this is before KDP purchased it, okay? So we had Create Space. So while I was teaching people to publish, we were uploading our books on Create Space. That changed things a lot. And then when we shifted over to KDP, it made publishing more accessible and easier. So when I first started publishing, I had to do a lot of risk up front. I had to buy all my books. We had to buy like 100 to get 25 free. It wasn't like it is now. Now, it's an even better time for you to publish, because when you go to print now, if you go that route, you just upload your files, they'll print them and they'll ship them, they'll deliver them, and you collect your royalties. Can you buy books on your own? Absolutely. But I'm telling you that there is a lower barrier to entry for price, but not excellence. I'm going to say it again. There's a lower barrier of entry for price, but not excellence. Okay? Excellence makes a difference. Excellence. This is your resume in concrete, like stone. So it is representing you, your brain, how you think, your professionalism, your knowledge, your reach, your thought. If you're only doing it for money, which is why I think we have to be careful about just relying on AI to do things, because sometimes we do it because we think it's a quick money grab, but you're not really giving value. So yes, I use the tools. Last year I did a writing challenge using AI. I believe it's the tool, but I'm the builder. Okay? It's materials, but I'm the builder. So I still believe in integrity in publishing. I still believe that you should be authentic when you do it. So I do use technology tools, but I use technology tools to amplify my expertise, my voice, my experience, because there's nothing like the real thing, baby. Okay, so create space, the titles moved over, and then all of my titles shifted to KDP Amazon, and now it's really, really simple to get some good quality things out there in the market. So the reason why I tell you don't hesitate so much about publishing is I was able to revise this book. This book is a classic. I use this book to train my team. I would give them homework assignments. But when I read this book that was published in 2010, it was saying things like DVDs. Who has DVDs? CDs, things and words that just weren't 2024 relevant. So if you have published a book in the past, whether this is your first time or do it, go and see if the language is up to date. So what I did was I re-edited all of this 365 days and made sure that it was up to date. And then I put new clothes on the baby, right? I still wanted that bright, colorful idea with dancers on it and made sure that it was all good, but it's still great classic quality and landscape format for people to teach and train their teams. I want things that are classics. I want things that are lasting. I want things that are legacy building, and I didn't want it to be out of style. Right? So start to think about that. If you're a teacher, if you're a trainer, if you're a speaker, is it time to put new clothes on your baby? Is it time for your baby to get new vocabulary, right? As they learn. And so these are my book babies. So I made sure that I revised that. When technology changes, I also did that for Get Right Church. I'll talk about that another day. But publishing had changed 2014, 2015, when I first published Get Right Church, we had a little bit of differences, and so I had to revise that as well. So think about revising any existing books you have if you notice that they are dated. But now, if you publish in excellence, it will be good. Okay? So I wanted to make sure that you understand that grabbing a hold of your core talent and becoming an author, I always say this, you all, once you become an author, you can never become unauthorized. Authorship is forever. If you publish one book, you're an author forever. Nobody can take that away. If you do it consistently, you can see growth and compounded success in the profits as long as you are producing things that people are actually asking for. But is it worth it to do it once? Yes. Also, I will say this. Don't settle just for digital. Try to get into as many different industries of communication as you can. So if you have the physical copy, people still read. If you have the Kindle version or the digital version or the PDF version, that is great. I have used my books I've leveraged my books for profit, for courses. So when I'm doing, like I did a course called Dance Leaders Advanced. This was one of the digital versions. So since I didn't have to ship this out for $10 a copy, I made it available in an online library that I was able to sell at like $300. Hey, AC, long time no see. I was able to sell that course for $300 and leverage my expertise for profit. This is why I'm telling you not to settle, right? Do the physical book because my books have gone places my feet have yet to meet. Do the ebook because you want instant access to your knowledge and your expertise. But also do the digital PDF versions of things, and dare I say it, do the audio book. People are listening to podcasts now. People, they might not have time to sit down with a book, but while they're in the airport, while they're on their way somewhere, they can listen. A few years ago during the pandemic, Amazon ACX hired me to be a keynote speaker, and they paid me during the pandemic. Why? Because I am showcasing my expertise through publishing multiple books. Went to New Jersey Performing Arts Center that year. Shout out to NJ Pack and just Jersey, period. Jersey shows me so much love. I love Jersey, so shout out to all my Jersey people. But because of that relationship and hosting an author expo there, I was able to meet them and they hired me to speak for them. And now, people that I've never ever met before comment on that ACX speaking engagement that I did. That's why I'm telling you, books are like automatic door openers. And every time you do it, yes, y'all love me there, and you show me that you love me, Jersey. I love you too. So books are automatic door openers for you. I love you too, AC. They will open up doors, right? And literally, like it's like a door when I look at it. They will open up doors, right? But certain doors will remain closed until you publish. When you publish, I say this, you bring things from heaven to earth. Publishing it makes it real. If I have to get preachy, like Jesus was able to defend things by saying, it is written. That's why I push you to write the vision and make it plain and write it. Stop having all these millions of ideas in your head that you're not writing down, or you're allowing life to compound itself upon you and you're not doing it. Yes, I have used my fingers to type books, but I also do webinars like this. I can take this whole training right now and I can have it transcribed and I can make it into a book if I wanted to. Use technology to your advantage, but use what you have got and publish it and make it available. I love the fact that I can go run reports and see people in different countries that I had not visited downloading my book. So every month, Amazon pays me for the physical books that are ordered as well as the ebooks that are ordered. And I am so happy to say that there has not been a month missed, y'all. Every month I get royalties from Amazon. Okay? So it's worth it. But I say book yourself, and I mean it literally, right? Book yourself. If you're connected to me, it's hard for you to be without a book. So teaching and training is my core talent. My core talent is not doing your book for you. I've learned that the hard way, okay? My core talent is teaching you how to do it so that you can publish as many books as you want to. But I am telling you that Publishing Company Keepers Dance Ministry Daily changed my life forever. And I cannot wait until I see how my next book, The East Formula, is going to change my life even more. You don't have to stay in a lane, y'all. I started in worship arts, and now you see me publishing all kinds of books in business, books in publishing. You don't have to stay in your lane. You've heard me say it. Stay in your lane is aimed at those who choose to remain bound to the ground. There are no lanes in the sky when you fly. But if you cultivate your core talent, one of my books is called that, I'll talk about it. Teaching and training is what mine is. I'm able to go into any industry and make it make sense. So find out what that is for you and get right, get right, get right, get right. Okay? So if you have any comments, if you have any questions, I am here. If not, I will wrap it up. But I just wanted to share my journey about how one book just changed everything. And then tomorrow, when I talk about book 2, I have 19 books. So I'm going to do 19 lives and get content. This is another way you get content, okay? I'm going to have 19 lives before I do March into Publishing, the workshop at the end of the month. No lanes in the sky when you fly. There's no lanes. So I use Joseph as an example because he was an administrator. Everywhere he went, his gift worked. And that's the way that I see my gift. Everywhere that I go, it works because I have administrative abilities, but my teaching and training works everywhere. It worked in the airport. I shared this at a networking event the other day. Everywhere I go. So if I go to the grocery store, strangers come up to me and they ask me how to show them things. I was at the airport last Friday and this woman next to me was like, please help me. She couldn't get the attention of the airport people. Would you please help me? She didn't speak a lot of English. I had to walk her and show her how to pay and check in her bags. Like, this is just teaching and training is my core thing. What are you using to create audiobooks? Okay, so that's ACX. Okay, ACX, you go there and they give you all the specs. You can invest in the microphones to use for this, or you can pay someone to do it. The thing is, they tell you exactly the script that you need to use because they need it in a certain format. And they require a certain quality, okay, of recording. So that's why it's a little tougher to do it on your own. But if you know someone with a studio and you can book some time to go in there and read through your book, that's great. You can also, through ACX, hire people to do this for you. It'll cost you, okay? You can hire people to do this for you, but if you are a speaker, you will probably want to go record it yourself so that you have that authenticity. But you can hire voice actors to do this for you as well. The audiobook market is less competitive, so you can make good money over there because less people do it, because it requires production. It requires you to follow their specs, right? And then you upload those files to Amazon ACX. You have a cover created square for ACX and you are good to go. Okay. Yes, you can use, I love the newest version of Word because I can speak and it will literally take dictation. Then I can go edit that, I can format it, and then I can create a book out of it. You have the tools, invest. So that's why I'm always fussing about Google whatever Docs, because it's just the formatting is weird. It's not that you can't use it, but I want you to invest in the best tools for your career as an author. This is not the only thing that you can do. There's many things that you can do. And you don't have to stick to Word, right? You can have your format done in different ways. So like when I do workbooks, I'll talk about that. When we do workbooks and when we do journals, you don't have to use Word. I wouldn't recommend Word. We would do Canva for that. Okay? I am so glad that you joined me and that you get to spend weekdays with me over the next several weeks talking about each one of these books. And not all of them were great experiences, you all. I was publishing every single year for a period of time, and then I had a moment where I didn't, and then when I came back out, I like dropped 4 books in a year. It was crazy. Okay, so I do recommend that you publish every single year if possible. Every single year if possible to publish your book. Okay? You got anything else for me? I feel like this is a reunion of old friends. And my page was hacked last year. So some people might think, does Keisha not like me anymore? That's not true. Okay? They got me. After many attempts, they got me. So I'm rebuilding my presence, and I was discouraged by that, y'all, but I'm back. So I'm rebuilding my presence on social media, and so now this is an opportunity for all new content. So if they knock you down, baby, you get back up again. Okay, so I'm excited to be here with you, and I'll be back here tomorrow at the same time, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, and I will talk about why and how my second book was a bust. My second book was not good, y'all. So I want to talk about what to do when you have something that does not work the way that you thought it would, and then how to keep going and bounce back from that. Catch up, exactly. I definitely caught up because sister was going through it during the panini. And some of you know, right? So I think 2024, I published 2 books and I revised 2 books. I was not playing because I fell off, baby, and I had to get back up and do it again. So now 2025 is an amazing year. So many exciting things, you guys. I cannot wait to share with you about that are in the works for authorship. A tour is in the works, an expo is in the works, and I will release the East Formula this year. All right, so tomorrow we'll talk about a completely different book, that process, and every single day I'll talk about some journals, I'll talk about some workbooks, I'll talk about my thought process behind them, so that if you're on your first book or if you're on your 50th book, I want you to know that it's always time to be right and to do the right thing. All right, I love you all. I am Rakisha Pittman. I am turning talents into treasure. I go east as an entrepreneur, author, speaker, trainer, and as always, I make sure that we do the right thing. Maria! Yes! The first book babies. I love book babies. And once you have the first one, I'm telling you, it will open up so many avenues and opportunities. So I'm excited. Thank you all for allowing me to fuss at you, for those of you who do, to remind you to get on your nerves, to step on your toes, to not let you loose, to all of that, because the point is we have a legacy, And when you write, you are a historian. You're becoming a part of history, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, poetry, whatever you do. You are etching yourself into history, and you cannot allow someone else to tell your story the way that you tell your story. So whether it's your life story or whether it's your expertise or how you build, you are a part of history. But if it's not written, it does not exist. Okay, so make sure that you continue to get your life right. I will see you tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, as we talk about my 19 books in 15 years and how I continue to do the right thing. Thank you so much. If you're watching this after the fact, I will definitely respond. Love you much. Stay right.